Joining us now here in Jerusalem is Erin Molan, who came for a short visit from Australia. Shalom.
Shalom, Yoni. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be with you. And yes, I'm somewhat jet lagged. I haven't slept in, feels like 10 years, but it's been about 30 something hours. So be gentle with me, please.
No problem. So you're here for a special conference about countering
Yeah.
anti-Semitism. First of all, when did you understand that you want to join the war in this unique battlefield of the media?
I think the first instance after October 7 that I realized, we have a real problem here would have been those shots that you would have seen that went around the world outside the Sydney Opera House. Before an IDF boot had hit the ground, we had people in my country celebrating the biggest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust, cheering about the slaughter of children and women, and using the backdrop of my country to do so. And I think when I saw that, I started to understand that this is not going to play out the way I would have hoped or the way I would have thought, the way I would have given my country credit for. And then it appeared that was the case across the world in terms of the reaction. I look at what happened on October 7 and in equal parts, that's probably the worst thing I've ever seen in my lifetime, on equal footing with the reaction from the world. Both have been just as devastating.
As Jews, we know that anti-Semitism is ancient and it's not going anywhere. How much did it surprise you?
I must be incredibly naive because I was blown away by it. I had zero expectations. My beautiful dad, who we lost a couple of years ago, he was a major general in the army and then he was a senator after he left the military. And people in Australia in the Jewish community would stop me often and say, your father is such an incredible ally of our Jewish community. And I would think about it and say, oh, that's really lovely, but why do you need an ally? I didn't quite understand what was simmering under the surface, but it very quickly became very apparent to me what existed, and it was horrifying.
Now, one thing that's noticeable is that your video messages are very straightforward and sometimes even very simple.
That's why it's so crazy that, if you told me 2 years ago there's going to be a terrorist attack, October 7, you're going to come out very publicly and condemn the terrorists and you're going to stand with the victims of that terrorism, and that will make you controversial, I would have said you are absolutely dreaming, no chance. Yet here we are. In terms of my take, yes, it's simple because it is simple. There's nothing complex about what has occurred or about who is good, who is evil. Absolutely nothing complex about it. It is incredibly simple. I struggle to comprehend why others don't see it that way, and I know that there's a portion of those people who choose not to see it that way, but there's a lot of people who are simply fooled by some very clever propaganda. I'm not and never will be.
Erin, do you feel that people are convinced that you can make a change?
Yeah, I think what I try and do is I love speaking to Jewish people and Israeli people, but I'm wasted doing that all the time. My job is to speak to people outside of that and to show them that caring about kids dying in Gaza, and this is the thing that's thrown out there all the time, that if you stand with Israel, you're a child murderer, genocide, etc., which is just completely, utterly ridiculous. I think that there's almost this belief now that's been created by the other side that if you care about kids in Gaza, then you've got to oppose Israel. But it's the complete opposite. If you care about kids in Gaza, you should stand with the only group, the only body, the only country currently doing anything to try and save them from their real enemy, which is Hamas. So I think that's something that they seem to have woven in very cleverly, is that if you're humane and you care, then stand against Israel, when in fact it's the complete opposite. Now, I don't find that hard to understand or comprehend, but a lot of other people seem to.
So what's your answer to the question, why? Why and how is this all happening?
I think there's a lot of money and a very sophisticated PR campaign that has gone into this. Qatar, Iran, there's a lot of people that are funding a lot of the algorithms, a lot of the images that people are seeing, a lot of the rhetoric. Young minds are desperate to care about things. In our own country, in Australia, we We teach our kids to hate our country, that we're colonizers, that we're bad people, that they don't, I mean, why would they like our country when we're teaching them to hate it? I think there's this whole generation of people that are desperate for a cause. I feel like the media is so complicit in so much of this in terms of how they report this conflict. And I don't look at a lot of people as being malicious. So I listen to and watch media in Australia, and I'm watching a story on one of our biggest news channels that's covering the prisoner/hostage exchange, and I'm seeing the opening shot's an emotional shot. The first thing you see is not the innocent hostages. It's a prisoner on the shoulders of someone, his mother crying, there's emotional music, and the narrator is saying, a family reunited. But what they're not telling you is that that bloke blew up a bus 15 years ago that killed kids. I think, and if you're you or if you're me, you're invested heavily in this. You do this for a job. It's your people. It's your life. It's a major part of your day-to-day existence is this conflict, is this issue. For most people around the world, it feels very far away, and they're not watching or listening to a mainstream media that is giving them a skewed narrative and then saying, I'm going to investigate that. In my mind, I always think about a 45-year-old single mum working 3 jobs. She's tired. She's not into politics or anything like that. She hears that shapes her narrative. And I think that's a big part of the issue as well.
And what could and should be done to fight back? It's about telling the truth.
Look, I think it's a great place to start, is telling the truth. I think in the early days, I felt that those who opted to be a part of the silent majority had the right to do so, and that was their choice. I think that time has passed. I don't think anyone who purports to care about humanity, peace, freedom, democracy, anyone who stands against terrorism, I don't think really can be quiet any longer. I think the time has passed for there to be enough people speaking out for those who want to remain silent to remain silent. I think everyone now needs to use their voice and use their platform. And yes, I have a big platform. You might have 2 women in the tea room during your lunch break at work. Every platform, every opportunity, every chance you get, you've got to be telling people the truth, even if it feels completely futile. Words are so powerful. It is the most dangerous thing that the other side have at the moment, and they're doing it more effectively than we are.
And you, like many others, see how the words of hate become actions of hate and violence.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're already seeing it. Anyone who thinks that this is just an Israeli-Jewish issue is a fool, and a dangerous fool at that. And I keep hearing people saying, oh, it's coming, it's coming. It's already here. It's already in Europe. It's in Australia. It's in America. It's all over the world. This threat is genuine and it's real. And if we don't clamp down on it, if we don't take it seriously, if we don't fight it and eradicate this extremism, it doesn't end with the Jews. It doesn't end with Israel. Everyone has skin in this game. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I have skin in this game. So does everyone else. If you want to live in a world that values the things that we take for granted now, then you've got skin in the game and you need to fight this.
Now, finally, as a non-Jew, tell us about what you've learned about the Jewish people.
Oh, it's been one of the most incredible experiences of my life, has been meeting so many people who are part of your community. I didn't really have a Jewish friend, to be honest, and I then met a lot at my daughter's school, which has a fair few Jewish people in my community, and now obviously I have a lot of Jewish friends, which is wonderful. But you inspire me. I look at you as a group of people, and I think you should be in the fetal position in the corner, in tears 24/7, given what you are subjected to constantly, but you are the complete opposite. I also, something that has really stuck in my mind since October 7, every time I've seen a gathering that is pro-Hamas, they're pro-Hamas. Every time I see a gathering, from the river to the sea, intifada, death to Jews, it's always calling for violence, the eradication of Jews, of Israelis. Anytime I've seen a group of Jewish or Israeli people together, the only thing they chant, bring them home. And I think if that doesn't tell you in a succinct, to the point way about these two different groups of people, then nothing else will.
Erin, thank you very much for joining us, and keep up with the good work.
Yoni, thank you so much for having me on your wonderful show. I really appreciate it. Thank you.